This is Dr. David Allen coming to you on the television program, People Helping People. You know, our country is facing a challenge with our at-risk youth. And you know, the average age of a murderer in the Bahamas is between 16 and 25 years old. Our experience as a family is that a teenager who murders or is murdered many times is a process which was not interrupted. With me today is Ms. DenieFountainMarkBeckford because they've developed a program for court-ordered youth. Our hypothesis is this, that when a teenager is murdered or murders in their late teens, somewhere down the line from age 9 to 14, things were going on which were not addressed. So we've developed a special program where the court through probation officers refers to us young persons, ladies, girls, and boys from age 11 to about 15 who have problems in school. They may be fighting, maybe bullying, they may be fighting in the streets. Some of them are members of gangs. And through our program, they come twice a week to our center, and also we try to get their parents involved. This is a challenging program. But fellow Bahamians, unless we make some attempt to intervene, our youth are moving into a powerful sense of despair. Go to remand in the prison, go to the corners, go to the public schools, and you'll see what we're talking about. And so tonight we want to talk with Ms. Deanie and Mark, who have first-hand experience of what can be done with these kids. If we don't act now, these kids, your children, our neighbors, our fellow citizens, will be left behind in the Bahamian dream. And more than that, they can disrupt the Bahamian dream for you, for me, and for us. Ms. Deanie, you're kind of the mother to many of these young men and ladies as they come. What's it been like as a Bahamian person, just as an ordinary citizen, to sit with them, knowing that they're troubled and they've been through so many difficult issues?
One of the things, Dr. Allen, is a lot of times when they come to the program, they just want someone to hear them. And so a lot of the things when me and Mr. Beckford do a lot of times is we sit down and we listen. They want someone to talk to. A lot of the times when they want to talk to mommy or talk to daddy, mommy and daddy might be too busy. And so one of the first things I do in an initial intake is I allow them to talk. So once they started talking, I get a sense of what's going on at home. And so when we get in the group session, we already recognize, all right, this child just needs to vent. And so as they begin to talk, we begin to see exactly what's going on in their mindsets, where we're able to say, well, okay, so we know he needs conversation or she needs conversation. They have no one to talk to. And they want to talk about anything. The other day in group, they were discussing how it's so difficult for a man because a man would go ahead and rape a woman, and this was just one particular person. A man would go and rape a woman, and he gets to spend all the time. But what happens when this woman rapes the man? What happens to that woman? These are the things what the kids want to talk about. Mm-hmm. And so we sit and we talk.
Well, Ms. Deanie, they're referred from the court to the probation officers. Mm-hmm. I guess they've gotten in trouble into school or on the streets.
Yes.
They're supposed to be bad kids. Yes. But in your description just now, you didn't mention bad. You just mentioned kids who need to be listened to.
That's all. They're not bad kids.
Wait. But they've got a lot of trouble, man. They can create
a lot. They got into trouble as a result of not having no one to talk to. A lot of times, if we sit and listen, we have kids that came to us that were, we had one kid. Her middle name is Fight.
Her middle name is what?
Fight. That's what she calls herself. Because
so the girls involved in this too?
Yeah, and so if you say anything to her at all, it's a fight. But her problem was no one ever stopped and say to her, well, let's talk. What's happening with you? One of the things I said to her, promise me this weekend you're not going to fight. And if we could do this weekend, we will practice every weekend until we get you to a place where you don't have to fight. And she went to school, and as she got to school, she said someone threw a chair at her. And she grabbed the chair. She was about to throw it, and she said, "Wait, I promised Miss Deanie, I'm not going to fight."
Wow.
And the principal was standing, and the principal said, "You didn't throw the chair." She said, "I promised Miss Deanie." So we take it 1 week at a time.
Wow. Fellow Bahamians, I want you to hear Miss Deanie. She is a mother to these kids. Notice her approach. Now, she has a bachelor's, and we understand she's going to graduate in May with her master's. But she is a fellow Bahamian lady who has a deep heart for her people, a very spiritual person. But notice just now how she handled that very difficult situation. Many professionals are not good at working with these kids. In fact, they tell us the government programs don't accept them because they're afraid of them. But yet Ms. Deanie is saying she sits with them and they talk with her. Mark, what is that your experience, Ms. Deanie's experience as well?
The same experience, Dr.
These are not bad kids, but then court mod. Well, Mark?
You know, Dr. Allen, I think it's time we remove ourselves from the traditional mindset of how we think about these kids. Because I think we put too much pressure on these kids. Although what we see, we might not like and it's bad, but the same concept as it takes a home, it takes a community, and it takes a leader to raise a child. Remember, if those things are not properly in place for a child, it destroys a child.
And Mark, you're saying they're not in place.
They're not in place, Dr. Allen.
So you're saying unless we do something to put those things in place, we can spend money, we can provide jobs, it's going nowhere.
Nowhere. You're going to spend the money one way or the other. Either you spend the money to properly invest, or you're going to spend the money just to banish the problems. One way or the other, you're going to spend the money. You know, because if I have a child, as a father, I'm not in place to provide the discipline and leadership for my child in my home, to give my child, to show my child a role model, someone they could follow. And when my child starts to slip, someone who can then discipline my child, pick up my child, and guide my child. So if I'm not there, who's going to do it? How is that child going to survive? If a child don't know how to swim, you put them in turbulent waters, windy waters, water with current, are they going to make it to shore? For sure, that child is going to drown. And if you can see the culture in the Bahamas, our homes have a disease. I wouldn't even say illness. It's a disease in the homes today.
What do you mean a disease, Mark?
One thing with the disease, it spreads, Dr. Allen. Can't you see more and more single parents increasing? Can you see more and more undisciplined child in these single homes? There's something has to be done to eradicate this disease. And unless we invest properly, we take our time, that all stakeholders involved, I don't care whether it be the police officers, whether it be the teachers, whether it be the pastors, whether it be social services, whether it be us, whoever, the prime minister, straight down, it's time we all come to the table, come together like this. Instead of using this, we got to create one team, Dr. Allen.
Well, you know, a young man was killed, I think, some weeks ago. And the parents said, see, I told them to change his school, his public school. If they let him go to a different public school, he wouldn't have been killed. Respond to that, Mark.
That's a really challenging one to respond to, but the environment does make a difference. The environment does make a difference.
So if he was sent to a different public school, he wouldn't have been killed?
I mean, I don't know if he would have been killed, but I'm telling you, it may have made a difference, because why stay in the same place and fail rather than go someplace else to try to succeed?
So, Ms. Deanie, the environment of the school is not conducive to these kids?
Sometimes it's not. We get stories, Dr. Allen, where the kids tell us, I can't cross the street to go to this school. I don't know if
why?
Everything goes back to the gangs. And I don't believe the mothers are aware of some of these things, because sometimes they do come to us and they say, look, I'm trying to get my child out of this school and I'm trying to get them into this school. Sometimes it's help. But the problem is, if the child could change their attitude, the parents changed it, the attitude, that would work a long way with what we're trying to do with their children in keeping them alive. We have kids who came by, it might have been last Monday, and said to us, I need to get off the streets.
I need to what?
I need to get off the street. Why do you need to get off the street? Because this is what is going on. And if I'm not off the street, someone is going to kill me.
Fellow Bahamians, are you hearing what Deanie and Ms. Fountain is saying, and Mark? That the kids are telling them they can't be on the streets. They say they can't be by themselves. They have to be with their boys or their girls or what have you. These kids look tough. They act tough. They do tough things. But down deep, they're what? Afraid.
Yes, they are. They're afraid. They're really, really afraid. And he's totally afraid because there's been a couple of instances where he felt like someone was right there on him to hurt him. And so I've done some investigations, and I believe Mr. Beckford might have already, but we just can't take him off of the street. If we take him off the street, how's he going to go to school? How's he? There's so much factors involved.
Streets are that bad, Mark?
Yeah.
Just about 2 weeks ago, there was a situation whereas the two gangs after school, they had already merged. One group on their side, one group on their side. And only about, say, 40 to 50 feet apart from one another. As I was driving past, I saw the first group merging. I said, okay, well, this doesn't look good. I could see what they're already up to. So knowing them, I stopped. I said, look here, y'all stay right here. I said, don't go across there. Y'all stay right here. And knowing some of the guys from the other side, I started to head across the other side to tell them, man, look here, this doesn't make sense. You know, just go back through the corner and leave it alone. By the time as I reached the other group and turned around, I saw the other group coming behind me. So my thing is, why are they still coming? I told them to stay. So I ran in the middle of the road, waved my hand, tell them to go back. And as I got close enough to them, I saw the other guys now start running in the bushes, picking up rocks and bottles. The guys them jumping over the fence to come to the main road. When I got close, they say, Mr. Beckford, the police officers told us to come this way. They ran us off the bus stop. When I looked at the bus stop, the police officers was running them from the bus stop. Although the police officer had good intentions, he was still sending them into harm's way. So I told him, I said, don't mind the police officer right now, go back that way. So the police officer turned around and got mad with me. Why I defying him? I'm saying, officer, I'm not defying you. I said, you got to understand something now. Look off the street. That's a different gang over there.
Exactly.
I said, drive your car down here and look through that corner. And just as I finished saying to Dr. Allen, all the guys rushed right on the streets. And when they saw the police officer, then they started to say, well, back through the corner. And then the guys, as the officer, send them the opposite direction. Because there were two different gangs and there were two different zones, because in some streets, some school locations, there are zones. Whereas if you're from this gang, you cannot go down there. And if you're from this gang, you can't go there. So you might find one group hanging out here, waiting for another group to pass by, and then another group waiting someplace else for another group to pass by.
Fellow Bahamians, this is not something we've thought about or something we've read about. This is our work. The kids are telling us they don't feel safe even going to school. They don't feel safe driving the jitneys. They don't feel safe walking the streets. I don't know how to live in a country where you're not safe walking the streets. I don't think we can build a culture if our kids can't walk in the street. But I have to hear what Mark, Ms. Deanie is saying, what the kids are reporting, because they're not just tough kids or bad kids. They are scared kids. And I know if I had to go to school like that, I don't think I could survive. These are your children. These are your people and my people. And if they're not safe, guess what? You are not safe and I'm not safe. We're going to take a break and be right back.